Bissama's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassama finds Bissama.
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield
Mr.
Wednesday.
James Beadle. Definitely one to forget from his point of view. Football is a cruel sport at times, and yesterday was one of them. Once again, we concede another last-minute goal and literally throw away a point. And in truth, we should have been coming away with all three. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me, as he always is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's things? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, James. Better than I think if we'd have recorded this pod yesterday at about 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'm much better now. But yeah, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm waiting for those words to be uttered. My head is on Mars.
Was. I've come firmly back down.
Definitely, yeah. When that happened, I thought, yeah, that's Matt will be saying that, if either under his breath or out loud, or one of the two. But Matt, I don't know why we're surprised. We rarely have back-to-back wins. We're on win, lose, draw, mid-table form, but Beadle's had an absolute howler, hasn't he?
Right, let's get it out of the way early, James. Yes. We will obviously be diving into that later. Into the other issues surrounding the game and the team and all the rest of it. But he doesn't need us telling that he should be dealing with that incident yesterday. I'm not even going to call it a cross, like that incident yesterday. Like, he doesn't need us. He hasn't needed the hundreds and thousands of people online digging him out. Like, he knows. He will know well enough that is a shocking mistake, and the quicker that everybody can, I say move on from it, but like actually dissect it and look at the other errors that are kind of leading around it, I think that the more important, and hopefully we'll be able to do some of that tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what? I put that meme up, didn't I? I think it was after the Swansea game. The one that's we're back.
Yeah,
and that is literally, it is the life of a Sheffield Wednesday fan. We're just going round in that cycle. I think we're on the it's over stage at the moment.
Yeah,
but we've got Burnley, so it's probably going to be it's so over come this weekend.
Yeah.
And then it's Plymouth, so it just keeps going round and round and round. But yeah, very, very mid-table form at the moment. I'm just going to read a few messages out as well before we get straight into the game yesterday. Jake says, good evening, everyone. Adam says, great thumbnail showing the handball after Beadle's mishap. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Danny says, hi. And then we've got Kevin, please don't defend Beadle tonight, guys. Well, you haven't got long to wait. We'll be
just going to say, Kevin, much like our centre halves yesterday, not doing any much defending either.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. Of course we are. That's what we're going to be talking about. Let's go back to the kind of pre-game then. Before kick-off, 2 o'clock, the team sheet comes out. Beadle in goal, Valerie Ehekwa, Max Lowe, Johnson, Charles, Bannon, Armstrong, Ingleson, Gassama and Ugbo. So the two changes. Bannon and Armstrong coming in, Patterson and Windass making way and dropping to the bench. First of all, Barry Bannon starting. I'm like, obviously we kind of got wind of it on Friday. Where in the Discord someone said, get ready for Bannon starting tomorrow. I'm going to admit I wasn't. I wasn't like. I didn't fully believe it, if you know what I mean. But what a huge boost before going into the game when you see him and stuff in his training gear and stuff. It was a huge boost, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, massively. Again, as you said, James, there was some. I'm sure there were other people who had it aside from our Discord, but there was some rumours kind of about him floating around and being in and around definitely the team, not necessarily the starting 11. I didn't expect him to start, but the man from Airdrie just keeps adding to his Sheffield Wednesday legend. He's got a piece of grip tape around, like a piece of tape around his knee. So that's holding everything together. He'll be fine.
What do you think that was? Because do you think he's had injections? Do you think that's what it was? Do you think it was just a big plaster that he had on the back of his knee? I couldn't quite see what it were, but it didn't really go around. It wasn't strapping. because it didn't go around the front. It was literally just like on the back of his knee, weren't it? It was really, really odd.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and until I suppose we have an understanding of what the injury is, we won't know like what the.
It's definitely not his foot, anyway, is it?
No, it's definitely not his foot. No, we won't really be able to tell or know what that is.
Well, I've got theories, but we're going to have to wait a couple of weeks to see. Like, if it could have gone off to Turkey for a week, but
his hair's not had any improvement. I'll say that, James.
You've got to leave it. You've got to give it a bit of time. Not that I know, but apparently I've got to. It's not instant. Do you know what I mean? It's so we'll see on that one. But yeah, it was just for me. Yeah, great to see him back. I know we were talking last week about kind of life after Barry Bannon and things, and I did feel the worst. I think we were going to be out without him for a while, but whilst you can't bring any extra players in, certainly not anyone with any real quality at this moment in time, it was just great to have him back. I was a bit cautious though. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking, wait a minute, like we're all talking, thinking he's going to be out for some time, and he's back, and he's starting. I'm like, I had visions of this going horribly wrong. Do you know what I mean? And having egg on his face, and him actually then being out for quite some time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that is, we've seen that in the past, haven't we, with players at Sheffield Wednesday, where you chuck them in or you make them play games. Marvin Johnson from earlier this season is a prime example, where we were making him play games that he probably shouldn't have done, and then he had a spell out on the sidelines through to injury. I mean, if you just look at the Deschamps Bernard, do I think that Deschamps Bernard gets injured in the way that he does? Probably not. I think that's kind of like on its own thing, but I think that we've played him more than we probably should have done with a full complement, or at least some options at centre back. Yeah, I think that's probably had something to it. Do I think that stops him getting a ACL or an MCL or whatever it is that he's done to his knee? No, of course I don't. I'm not that stupid. But do I think that we've overused and overutilised players this season and last due to the lack of options in the squad? Absolutely. Stuart Armstrong is a prime example. Like realistically, he should have been starting at Swansea in the week. Yeah. He can't, because he's 32, and we all know that parameter has been set. The fact that we had to bring him on into that game to try and add some level of stability in the middle of the park, I think tells you everything. Having Bannon on the pitch yesterday, and that midfield three of Armstrong, Charles and Bannon, I mean, there's a lot of quality on that pitch with the three of them there, and it worked consistently. And, I know we're going to come on to talk about the performance later, but it was an outstanding performance from the midfield in particular. I thought yesterday were excellent, and probably the strongest area on the park. But when you've got Bannon, Charles, and you add Armstrong into that mix, that comes as no surprise, really. Yeah,
the other one, a kind of bit of a surprise, was Josh Windass dropping to the bench. I presume purely just to rest him. I know he's played the full 90 in the last 4 games that we've had. Obviously, we have had a midweek game as well. I mean, he ran his socks off against Swansea, I thought. So I suppose the rest is warranted, but still a shock to see him on the bench, because, I mean, it's normally he's either fit and he plays, or he's injured. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's like with Josh Windass. Not doing him any disservice, but if he's fit, he plays.
Yeah, I agree, but I do also I get your point in terms of the last 90 minutes, and also I think it was important that Svante Ingolson played in the week against Swansea, and then we got 45 minutes out of him. That was clearly a premeditated change from Danny before the game, in terms of managing both Ingolson and Windass's minutes before the game, because they both had a half a football each. Both were effective in totally different ways. Both on the positive side and in Ingolson's case, as we'll come on to discuss on the negative side as well. But I think both actually by the end of the game looked quite tired. Ingolson for the last 5 minutes of the first half looked like he was absolutely spent. And I'm sure Windass, had we not been chasing with 30 seconds to go trying to find an equaliser, also was equally as spent, because they both did really well. And again, it's just another prime example of Danny rotating his squad and getting the most out of the players that are at his disposal.
Yeah, I'm just going to read some more comments. I've got a Coventry fan in here. Got the Sky Blue Deck. Beadle better watch out. Sims is about. He's also put, in all seriousness, you'll be fine this season. Playoffs isn't impossible. Do keep all your comments coming in, of course. The other one, obviously, Smith on the bench. I know I've been banging the drum for him to start. I've been put firmly back in my box after Swansea with that performance off the bench. 5 goals off the bench as well out of his 8 that he scored this season. He is just more of an impact player, and I accept that now. But there is still a clamour for him to start. When you see it on socials, people saying, why is Ugbo starting? It should be Smith. I'm not going to be involved in the whole Ugbo does a lot of running, he's great, because my feelings on a striker. He's got to score goals. You don't spend 3 million, 2.5 million to run about. Do you know what I mean? Everyone hammers Patterson for running about, but yet we're happy for. Anyway, I said I weren't going to do that. So
no, I'm not going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. No, you're right, James. I've just highlighted this point by Jake here, which says, "Let's be real. The game was over when Ugbo was again announced as a starter." I personally couldn't disagree more with that, because again, I've been saying it for a lot of the season. In terms of, I think Ike Ugbo and Jamal Lowe give you a lot in terms of starting, not in terms of goals, but in terms of what they do. Correct me if I'm wrong, James. Coventry conceded after Ike Ugbo went off the pitch and Michael Smith came on, because Michael Smith is making different runs to Ike Ugbo, forcing defenders back into the box. Again, yesterday, I thought, again, I know we'll come on to him, thought Ike Ugbo did well with the very limited opportunities that he actually got. He had one real chance for my money, which was the shot which he kind of made for himself, which was, let's all be honest as well, it's a pass. He's trying to find Svante Ingelsson, and Ingelsson runs the other way, and he gets after it, gets a shot away, good save from the goalkeeper. I think after that, when Michael Smith comes on, there is a level of... It does also provide a boost to the fans, not just the team. It provides a boost to the fans, because it's like everybody then kind of straps in and goes, right, we might actually score now, which is really, really odd. But yeah, I mean, I will continue for the rest of the season, whilst those 3 players are our forward options, to continue banging the drum of rotation is the best way forward with all of them.
Yeah, in terms of kind of the match overall, I mean, overall overriding emotion is another one of frustration. I feel like that's been a lot this season, and it's not because the way that we're playing, 'cause I think we're playing some really good football at times. It's just the not converting the way that we're playing into goals, and then therefore into points and results. I've said it time and time again on here, Matt, like, play like that, we're going to win more games than we lose. However, we're playing like that, but the results aren't coming. At home now, that's 4 games without a win, 3 draws and a defeat. And I think I could honestly say that we could and perhaps should have won all 4. It wouldn't have been out of our remit to have done that, given the way that we played in all of those.
Those are, am I right in saying, James, Millwall, Bristol City, Luton and Coventry? In terms of the teams, which is 2 teams who are around us, 1 team in Millwall just below us. Just below us, and Luton, who I mean are all over the shop this year. I'm with you in terms of, I think the home form is frustrating. It's where the majority of Sheffield Wednesday fans get to see, obviously, Sheffield Wednesday live and in the flesh. And it is really, really, it's difficult to carry on defending the home form, because the home form over the course of those games that we've mentioned, Millwall, Bristol, Luton, and yesterday, hasn't been great on the whole. But yesterday was the exception to that rule. We were fantastic yesterday on the whole. Like, we were, we're talking about individual mistakes once again.
That's what it is, Matt. It is just mistakes, which Danny's absolutely screwing. He's pulling his hair out. He's going to look like me next season. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, he's going like apoplectic on the side of the pitch, when we making those mistakes. And obviously it's good, it's encouraging, but it's just that misplaced pass, or perhaps not being in the right place, or obviously defensive mix-ups and not picking your man up, whatever it may be. It is just a mistake. And unfortunately at the moment the other team seems to be capitalising on these mistakes, more than what we are on theirs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there are a few obviously key moments from the game that we'll pick out. But again, it's a really boring rhetoric that we've been peddling all year. This squad is overperforming. And I know it's boring, but against opponents like the ones that have bookended this 3-game week in terms of West Brom and Coventry, and also the next 2 fixtures, those key moments and those details cost you either way. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. In the games where we have played those sides who are above us and around us, we're found wanting. And that's not through lack of effort. That's not through lack of trying. That's not through not playing entertaining football and taking the games, taking games to teams and trying to make, chances and create chances and opportunities. It's because simply in those moments where it matters, the opposition have better players.
Well,
and that's a really boring fact,
yeah.
but it's true.
But you can't, as a team, two teams in the Championship, like you normally see these stats when it's, a top-end Premier League team against a newly promoted Premier League side in terms of 22 shots that we've had on goal. Now, obviously, of those 22, we had, how many was it that we had on target?
8 or 9, I think.
Yeah, 8 on target. Like, when a team gives you that many, I say give, allows you to have that many, or you create that many chances against an opposition. We didn't score. It was an own goal. Like, we haven't, all right, I know we put the ball into the box, but we've not scored from any of those shots. I don't think that goes down as a shot. I could be wrong, but anyway, like we have, it's an own goal. So that's the difference. We can talk about being fifth for goals scored, and it's great that we've scored that many. But when you look at the chances that we're creating, like, we should be scoring a lot more. And some of these games are such a fine margin. I've just spoken about the previous 3 at home, and they've scored late on yesterday. Had we had converted one of those chances, it would be 2-1 to us, not 2-1 to them. I know the game might have finished slightly different, but it's just so frustrating. And as you said, it's about that extra quality. When we're Ugbo's not performing, he's not scoring goals, so we're relying on Michael Smith, someone who we signed 3 seasons ago in League One from Rotherham to get us the goals. Josh Windass, fantastic player, but he's been here for 5 seasons now, 6, is in his 6th season, I think, something like that. Anyway, he's been here a while. I'm not saying they're not good enough, but other teams are bringing in new additions and expanding the squad, bettering the squad, and we're just kind of stood still, and that that could be the difference. And it's almost like we're Danny Rills, he's polishing his Reliant Robin, but when he turns around that corner, he's still going to tip up in it. Do you know what I mean? It's he can make it look as good as he wants, but it's still not good enough, if you know what I mean.
No, I fully agree with you. And I think Jake, I've highlighted one of your comments. I'm going to highlight another one here. Is Jake said, we need a goal threat from a striker in the first half. We don't have that when Smith doesn't start, but I still think Smith is better off the bench. And that's the conundrum in itself, isn't it? Like, that is, in a microcosm and in a nutshell, is we have got a number of players, and it's incredibly, I suppose it's frustrating. I know we're going to come on to talk about the bigger picture later on in the pod, to talk about the wider picture surrounding Sheffield Wednesday as well. Yeah. Whilst we are mathematically still in with a chance of making the playoffs, we are still 3 points off the playoffs, and we are in 9th. It's just,
we're not allowed to say that, Matt. We're not allowed to say the P word. The P word cannot be uttered on this on any social media anywhere.
No, of course. No, and that's the other issue is whilst you are still there, you have, in my personal opinion, I'm not talking for everybody here. In my personal opinion, you have to do what's been getting you good results over the course of this season. The problem is you need those errors that players make in key moments and key points of games. Like, I'm thinking back to Burnley at home. We lost the game 2-0. It wasn't a 2-0 game, just 2 key moments. Burnley take their chances, we don't. Yesterday, Coventry have 2 opportunities. One's a half chance at the end of the game. They take both of them. You said, we created 22 opportunities, 22 shots on goal, 9 on target. You take 1, and that 1 is an own goal. Like, it's not for lack of trying, and all of the data has suggested, how good we are and all the rest of it. And our manager is driven by data, whether people want to hear it or not. Our manager is driven by data, and all of the decisions he makes are not based on impulse or anything like that. It's driven and backed up by stats. The problem is, at the minute, and this again is going to get boring over the next 90 minutes, so apologies all, the players on the pitch are simply not capable of taking the opportunities at the regularity that, aside with, say for argument's sake, if we had the Coventry front line that started yesterday, Ellis Sims and Brandon Thomas Asante. Now, I'm really not a big Brandon Thomas Asante fan. Ellis Sims, up until yesterday, I thought he was a really good poacher, but actually didn't offer much. I actually thought Ellis Sims, giving credit to where he's due, Ellis Sims was the best player on the park yesterday. He was absolutely exceptional. They get what, 1.5 chances, a sniff, and it's two goals. And the other thing is,
well, it could have been 3 as well. Like,
We've talked a lot about the attacking options in the opening 20 minutes of this, James, but let's also talk about the defensive unit as well. The defensive unit at Luton, fantastic. Luton were absolutely outstanding, deserved a point just for the way in which that their goalkeeper and the 2 centre-halves played. Yesterday, Coventry, exactly the same from a defensive unit, and I'm not just talking about the 2 centre-halves, who I know I'll come on to highlight later, but as a whole, the defensive unit was exceptional, including the goalkeeper yesterday. At present, we have got too many defenders making too many mistakes, and the goalkeeper is now chucking himself in with that and making errors as well.
Let's take some credit from the fact that, you mentioned there Luton. I know they're obviously in dire straits and stuff, but from a squad perspective, they should be far better than us. And then you look at Coventry yesterday. I'm not going to say they parked the bus because they didn't. However, we had a lot of the ball, and we just couldn't really. We created chances, but I think they've done their homework and gone, when we have the ball, we generally don't do a great deal with it. Or we'll end up giving it you back. No, it's why we're better off away from home, because we don't have as much of the ball. We're trying to hit teams on the counter, and it seems to work. At home, when we have more of possession, we tend not to get the same results, and I do think it's like that. That's why, I know obviously we don't do great against teams that are above us either, but we seem to be more. The games aren't as frustrating when teams do try and come and attack us. So maybe Coventry did their homework, because there was times where they couldn't even get out of their own half, and it must have been frustrating to watch. But it's similar, when we're just giving up chances left, right, and centre, and they're putting a good defensive display in, then. Yeah, it's obviously working, but
the last thing I will say on this, James, before we start to move on to talk about more in kind of like depth about the game and kind of overall thoughts about it, is you can't keep conceding 2 goals at home a game and expect to win. Like, that's the long and the short of it. You chuck Millwall in there, conceded 2. Luton, okay, you only concede 1. Yesterday we conceded 2. I know it was away from home at West Brom. Concede 2 there. Can't concede 2 goals per game, or like what I don't know what our average is. It'll be over 1. It'll be over 1 goal a game. So you need them to score 2 goals a game to even draw. To even be within a sniff of drawing. It's been an issue.
I'm just good. These are the goals that have conceded. We've had 4 clean sheets at home, which is Plymouth, Swansea, Norwich, and Stoke. The ones that have conceded more than 2 in Bristol City, Millwall, Derby, like we won that game, Burnley, West Brom, Leeds, and Watford. We've that's a lot. That's a lot of games that we've conceded, and out of those, we've won 2. We beat West Brom 3-2. We've beaten Derby 4-2. And then we drew the other 2 games. Scoring 2 goals at home and then not coming away with 3 points. It's
you've had to score 7 goals over those 2 games to win them. Like, he's bonkers.
So when you look at your goal scoring stats, and we're saying, we're the 5th highest or whatever, but they're not to show for anything. Do you know what I mean? Those goals there, when goals are hard to come by as well. Right then, let's talk about the absolute howler then. Before we do talk about that though, obviously, which is a horrendous mistake. I just want to say, and I put it on socials yesterday, I kind of preempted what was going to happen, and it happened. The pylon that's kind of ensued on socials is just ridiculous. Like, a lot of people saying that Beadle should be dropped and Charles should be playing against Burnley on Friday. Well, it's going to be something that we're going to be talking about on Extra Time. So do head over to patreon.com/WTID pod if you want to listen to all that one. But we're going to be talking about kind of the incident in isolation for a moment and everything. But from the pylon and stuff, it's not going to help. I don't think it's not going to help anyone. And I know people have been saying you can't use that "he's young" tag, and I do kind of get that. Like, if you're good enough to play, then you should be able to take some of the criticism and stuff. But goalkeeper is probably the toughest position from a criticism point of view, because you make a mistake 9 times out of 10, it ends up with a goal. Fucking hell, we've got strikers making mistakes left, right, and centre. and then we get people clapping him and singing the name and and start chanting for him and what have you. One keeper makes a worldy save 5 minutes ago, and then he makes an absolute howler, and people just want him gone, send him back to Brighton. Like, it's absolutely mental the way that people have gone off.
Yeah, and I mean, we will touch on obviously kind of like the incident and stuff like that. I think when you're looking at it, there was an immediate reaction from everybody in the stadium who knew that it was an absolute howler. It was an absolute howler. There's no getting away from it. And I'm not going to sit here and try and defend like, oh, it's not a mistake. He's not the only one in that move who makes a mistake, but everybody is just laying the blame firmly at the goalkeeper's door. Now, I am not, I would say, I would say that I'm not of the kind of thinking that Danny won't be looking at that and thinking, well, I count 1, 2, 3 errors before it actually touches the goalkeeper here, and going, that's a whole squad thing. And yeah, you're absolutely right, James. There was an argument last week. Obviously, me and you sat here and posed it that Marvin Johnson lets his man go. It goes, Shea Charles misses it, goes through Ugbo's legs. But then also James Beadle chucks it in the back of the net, it goes through his hands. Nobody was talking about that last week. Nobody was going, oh, Beadle's got to keep that out. Okay, cool. This week, he drops a ball right at a striker's feet after the ball's coming down from 40, 50 feet with snow on it. Again, not ideal. There is not a Sheffield Wednesday player in the vicinity of Ellis Sims. Now, if you run it back to the first half with Svante Ingelsson when he goes through clean on goal, he's got players tugging at him. He's got players getting in his way. He's got loads of bodies around him, back on the line, all the rest of it. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about 5-10 minutes ago. It's people making consistent individual errors so that when one player does make a mistake, it's not, oh my God, like it's in the back of the net. It's, oh my God, what a chance. And 9 times out of 10 at the minute against those top teams, they will punish you.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. I mean, what was your kind of initial reaction then when it happened? Because I just had my head in my hands thinking like,
what the fuck has happened?
What the hell's happened here? I'm just thinking we're going to get a point. I'm really disappointed that it's not all 3. We should have come away with a win, and now we're walking away with nothing, and it's just there's just something. It's either an absolute worldie of a goal, a stupid thing, scoring a goal in injury time and then conceding one straight. There's just something that happens. I mean, if there's any new football fan and they're thinking, oh, what team shall I not necessarily support, just what team shall I watch this weekend? I'm surprised we're not on Sky every week. I mean, I know we are going to be on Sky for a few weeks consecutively coming up, but it's going to be a 0-0 on Friday, nailed on.
No chance. 1-0 Burnley. we're not keeping a clean sheet. No way.
But just watch us for entertainment value. It's fantastic. Like I've said before, Netflix are absolutely kicking themselves.
I agree with you. Just a side point before we talk about kind of what my initial reaction was to the goal, which will be very similar to everybody else's, I would imagine. We sat here at the start of the season and said, wouldn't a boring mid-table finish be great? What an entertaining mid-table finish this is going to be. It's unbelievable. Like the emotional roller coaster of this season. And
Stoke fans are livid.
Bristol fans, Preston, all of them. We've not had that. We've not seen this. All right. I'll go back to your original question, James. The first thought, and I actually, by that point, there was, again, I don't know why people leave early watching Sheffield Wednesday because you're guaranteed to miss something. The 2 things were, why, like the rest of the day, hasn't he just punched it? Because the rest of the day didn't catch a damn thing. Why hasn't he just punched it? Like, you can see you've got a striker closing you down. You can see how high the ball's coming up from. I know he's going to be a goalkeeper who backs his own ability, but why haven't you just punched it? And second one was, where on earth are our defenders? Where the hell are they? That was after I'd shut my hand off a couple of times because for those, I nearly got shut out at the South, James. Honestly, I showed some emotion. Obviously, the ball at the back of the net, and for those of you who don't know, I see it almost like smack on the halfway line, but right next to an exit. Like they've got like that wooden surface on the South stand to make it look really like old fashioned and kind of like this they're not the concrete underneath it.
And you found out the hard way.
Yeah, sadly, I turned to my right and smacked this thing thinking it was wood. And then, after 5 seconds when you've calmed down and you've gone, fuck, that hurt. I sat there going like this, that hurt. But yeah, those are my two initial thoughts. Why hasn't he punched it? And where the hell are defenders?
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's always like, I feel like putting the Balotelli t-shirt on the "Why always me," but changing the me to changing the me to an us. Do you know what I mean? Why always us? Like, why is it that this is always happening? I mean, we nearly conceded a last minute goal against Swansea as well, and it's like would have been like 3 in a row. I was looking. I think that's the 5th goal we've conceded in injury time this season. I think 3 of them have changed the result. There were 2. There was one against Derby, which we'd already won. We thought we were 4-1 up at the time, and then the other one was Leeds, where they were already 2-0 up. The others have all changed the actual result, either gone on to draw, or in this case, West Brom and Coventry, they've actually gone on to win the game. So I think, like you said, the mistake is just a huge mistake with Beadle. Do you think I don't think he's gone to catch it. I think he's kind of gone to pat it down. I think he's kind of gone to kind of pat it down, pick the ball, then pick it up, and then bowl it out quick or something, but not kind of realising how close Ellis Sims actually is. I mean, there's others as well, and I know there was a comment earlier saying that it's handballed by Ellis Sims. What's your take on that? Because I'm just thinking, I mean, when you slow it down and you freeze it, it does look like his arm's in between Beadle's arms, and he does hit it with his hand to knock it out. In real time, I'm not really thinking that.
No, again, and this is another important point that I didn't make at the top of the pod, James. I'm not going to get salty about this result because we did exactly the same to Coventry at their place, in terms of Coventry had all of the running, all of the shots, all of the deliveries into the box, and we ended up running up the other end of the pitch in the 93rd minute and nicked a winner. I suppose, go back to kind of like why he hasn't caught it, and is there a foul in there? I mean, I for the life of me yesterday didn't understand why people were berating James Beadle before this incident for not catching things yesterday. It's pissing it down with rain. Ball is bound to be greasy. 9 times out of 10 yesterday, he elected to punch things. Catching that particular ball from 60-odd yards up in the air with a forward unopposed, unimpeded, running and closing you down is a recipe for disaster. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to claim it initially, because I think if you were going to do that, I'm not trying to claim to be any sort of goalkeeping expert here, but why you would go for the ball over your head rather than just actually let it come into your body and then collapse on it, I don't understand. I agree with you. I don't think he quite realises how close Sims is, which is, I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing, because actually it's quite good that he's keeping his eye so firmly on the ball. He just seems to run underneath it. And actually, as you say, there have been plenty of incidents, and they won't stick in your memory, but there have been plenty of incidents where when you actually go back and think about it, that keepers don't claim that cleanly. They do take the ball and then look to drop it and then get on top of it and claim it. For me, I didn't think it was a foul, but then I know we're going to come on to the what's its name? I know we're going to come on to a comment about the disallowed Ellis Sims.
Sorry, Matt, I've got. As Jake's just said, Jesus, get the checklist out of things to defend Beadle with. How many knots was the wind?
The other thing is here, Jake, as well. It's pointless trying to defend it because it's not trying to defend it. I'm just trying to, I suppose, like both me and you, James, are just trying to think of what is the thinking behind it, because we've seen so many good things from this goalkeeper in the 12, 13 months.
Yeah,
it's like there's no getting around it. I mean, when the thing that was most funny, I thought, James, was when he gets up and he starts whining for a foul, not one player goes to back him up. Not one Sheffield Wednesday player goes to back him up. Every single one of them is head in hands, kneeling on the floor, all the rest of it. It's an error. It's not a foul on him. It's very good centre forward play. It's very, very smart.
Do you know what though as well? Because a lot of people are saying that he's been crap for a while, and I just don't. I just can't see it. I'm not trying to just play devil's advocate or anything like that. I genuinely, when people have been coming out and said I've had concerns with him for a while, this, that, and the other, he's not good at. I mean, yes, he has got some things that he needs to work on. He doesn't really command his box very well. I get that. He doesn't really come in for crosses and stuff. He does tend to flap at them, or he just doesn't come for them and just stays rooted on his line. I think there was a comment earlier saying he's a great shot stopper, but that's where it ends. Yeah, I agree. He's fantastic. He saves the ones that he perhaps shouldn't save. But then again, I don't think I'm struggling to think of this season where he's actually, had some howlers. Yes, he's made mistakes, but I don't think goals have come from them. It's just that yesterday, there was I think the first goal, we'll concentrate a bit. I think the first goal he could do better with the header. The second one that wasn't, he's obviously spilled it, which a lot of people are saying he does that quite often. People saying he palms it back into the danger area and stuff. But I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure people will in the comments. There's not been many this season where he's actually made a kind of glaring mistake such as this one. So I just find it really odd how all of a sudden people have just literally, he's almost like he's turned into the scapegoat again.
Yeah, I think everybody has very rose-tinted glasses on goalkeepers of past as well. I think that's another thing that, Kieran Westwood made errors. But people seem to be, we never saw Westwood make these kind of errors. Yes, we did towards the end of his time at Sheffield Wednesday. And remember, when Kieran Westwood arrived at us, he was an established championship goalkeeper who was in his mid-20s, not a young kid learning his way in the game. Cameron Dawson, Joe Wildsmith, take your pick. They all make mistakes. That's the nature of a goalkeeper. Like, if you go back to this time, not this time last year, go back to rewind it 18 months ago, say, for argument's sake, start the season last year with Cameron Dawson in goal. No slight on Cameron Dawson. He was making, one critical error a game that was costing us a goal. Like, it is what it is. It's sadly, it's the nature of the position. I think if you're going to look at the other errors on the pitch for that goal, there's plenty. When Bannon switches the play to Sissoko's in charge of that. The player's behind him by 5 yards, and he gets beat for it.
He didn't even challenge him.
No, doesn't even challenge him. Doesn't try.
He runs around him. Ball bounces, and then he kicks it. And I'm like,
and that's not me trying to slate a new player into the club who's had half an hour's worth of football. That's a mistake and that's an error. When the ball,
Danny will be looking at that and going, you could have prevented that. Straight away.
All he has to do is get goal side of it, feel a touch, and go down, and you'll get a free kick because it's not in the penalty area. And then the ball's cleared. The ball is hoofed forward, and when it's kicked, Max Lowe, for all the good that he's done this season, he's goal side, as is Michael Ehekwa. Both run away from the incident and both kind of run away from Ellis Sims, most importantly. And this is where I have a huge issue with both goals yesterday. Defenders and players in the outfield positions have to know and smell danger. If you look at the way that Bobby Thomas and Neil Kitchen defended all day yesterday, they blocked runners. Ike Ugbo was getting his shirt ripped off his back. Michael Smith then had it 10 times worse when he come on. You have to block the advancing runner on the keeper. Go back to their goalkeeper yesterday. Was it Dobbin? One of the two. Yeah. How much time?
Slow as fuck.
But also, how much time did he have on the ball when the ball came long towards him and he could gather it? How much time? Why? Because defenders are blocking advancing forwards to give the goalkeeper time. They don't just switch off and start running away. Michael Ehekwa and Max Lowe both basically start backpedaling to get themselves in position for a quick release of the football, which is fine when you're thinking about going forward, and I commend them for that. But you're defending your goal. That is your primary job. You don't smell the danger. You don't do it, and 9 times out of 10 you get away with it. 9 times out of 10 James Beadle claims that unopposed and nothing is made of it, and you can start an attack and everybody goes, oh yeah, we're on the attack again. But no, when you haven't done your job to the required standard, yes, James Beadle makes an absolute catastrophic error, but Sims spotted the opportunity yesterday. Frank Lampard spoke about it in his post-match. Ellis is working in the 92nd minute, trying to make something happen. Our defenders did not do that. Why didn't they do their jobs effectively?
Do you know what my worry moving forward as well is what's Burnley going to do on Friday? You know what I mean? When Beadle tips up, Beadle will be playing in goal on Friday. Like it's going to be huge in terms of from a confidence point of view. Like what's going to happen? They're going to stick it on him every corner they get. They're going to be under him. They're going to be they might give some fouls away, but they're going to get under his skin and they're going to make it difficult for him because they know that he's made that big error. I mean, I can just see it now from the goal kick. They'll just flick it up and boot it really high, and then chase after it like American football or something, just to go on and see if he can catch that one. But he's going to have to deal with it. He's going to have to we're going to see exactly what he's like. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the whole Piers Charles Beadle debate. A lot of people saying that, why are we developing a player that's not ours when we've got a young player just sat on the bench that needs minutes. Again, we'll talk all about that on extra time. Just a comment from Ryan, a Coventry fan. He says, wrong one there. Let's find the right one. Cov fan here. Thought you were the better team yesterday in terms of overall play, but not in terms of defending or clinical finishing. Still think you have a playoff shout, as do we. Great in between both boxes. We say it like a stuck record. Like just play the previous week and the one before and the one before that. Good football gets into both boxes, and we do tend to struggle. Kevin says if a defender was there, Sims doesn't score. Yeah, totally agree.
And that is, James. That is ultimately, in my opinion, the long and the short of it is James Beadle's made a howler, but your defender should help him out so that when an issue like that occurs, it's not capitalised on and the player doesn't run unopposed and score.
Let's not forget though as well. He did it already in the first half. He spilled one. I know that's a shot, and this isn't a shot, but he spilled one in the first half, and again, nobody's followed it up.
Nope.
And we've just done the same.
And we were talking about this. We were talking about this the other week. Do you remember Jeddy Gassama's chance against Luton, where Mark McGuinness makes a last-ditch tackle and he ends up turning the ball onto the post, and actually the referee gave a goal kick. I'm surprised he didn't give a corner kick to West Brom, but he ends up giving a corner. That is the difference in quality between playing your first choice centre half and our fifth choice centre half, because I think people have got very comfortable of this fact of up until 2 months ago, Michael Ahekwa wasn't even on the bench. He was basically either being told to stay away from Hillsborough or turn up and do meet and greets in the esports or family zone.
Yeah.
It's not a slight on these players because they are playing above their station. Jan Valery and Max Lowe are wing backs. We signed them as wing backs. The problem comes down to, which we're going to talk about later on, that bigger picture of those fundamental errors in recruitment to go out and improve your squad in the areas that you needed. And what happens is when you come up against those better teams like we did yesterday, like we did the previous Saturday, is when they make an error or a mistake, those players are good enough at the top end of the division to pounce on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conscious that it's coming across and like what Jake said, giving loads of excuses and stuff for Beadle. I just want to stress, it's an absolute howler. And other than saying, get better or be better, I'm not really sure of what else we can do other than change him for someone else. And I just don't think, one, that's going to happen, and two, I don't think it's healthy. He's made one howler. What's that going to set to the next? To Piers Charles. You make it because we had this scenario with Wildsmith. With Dawson and Stockdale.
Yeah,
where we were almost changing goalkeeper when they made one mistake, and then lo and behold, like the other one had one decent game, and then they made a mistake, and then it was all like, oh, is he going to drop him? Is he going to put someone else in instead? And you don't want that dynamic as a goalkeeper, as a right back or a centre forward or any other position. Yes, competition for places is great. I'm a firm believer that you don't really need that competition for places between the sticks. It's not healthy and it's not really going to work.
And we're also really, really soft on goalkeepers, aren't we, at Hillsborough? We're really, really soft on them, and we let them make mistakes and we let them grow into their career and become who they are. Because all these people who are going, Piers Charles has got to start. He's our own player. We've got to develop him. Okay, cool. So Piers Charles makes that mistake yesterday and you're all going to go, it doesn't matter. He's our player. Shut up, man. Like, he's total bollocks. Like, I get it. It's frustrating. It's annoying. It's 2 games in a week where you've probably, realistically from this week, we should have had 5 points. We've taken 3. I get it. It's frustrating. It's annoying. It's irritating beyond all belief. But just chopping and changing a goalkeeper just because one of them's ours and one of them's Brighton's player is total nonsense.
We all wanted to sign him in the summer. Just like Ugbo as well, because I can't go as much as we say that Ugbo's not good enough this season and he shouldn't really be playing. Again, I always go back to I were ecstatic that we signed him in the summer.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, some great business. Just like signing Beadle was great as well. But yeah,
I've just highlighted this comment, James, from just Kevin here, which says, drop Beadle when there's nothing left to play for, give Charles experience for next season, which is the point that I completely, 100% firmly agree on.
Yeah.
At that point, you basically say to James Beadle, thank you very much for all of your service. Thank you for keeping us up last year, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to have a go this year when we thought we were going to be mid-table. I'm sure you will understand we now actually need to develop our own goalkeeper here. And that's absolutely fine. But while you're 3 points away from the top six, no matter how unrealistic people think it is, I include myself in that. I don't think we're a playoff side at all. You have to keep persevering with that, especially with how much disruption has gone on in front of him. Because this point that Jake then makes about Dawson had a worse defence in front of him, never got that defence, though, was always criticised himself. I completely agree with you. I just don't want to see a 19-year-old kid who is our player and will be our first team goalkeeper next season make one mistake that costs us. Say Piers Charles gets brought in, and we ending up in the playoff spots, and he's the one who makes an error like yesterday. Wednesday fans will berate him to the hilt, and he will never ever recover from it, no matter how good a goalkeeper he goes on to be.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of that is he has to come in at some point, and he has to.
Yeah.
But I do agree, as a fan base, we just need to be better as well, and just not absolutely crucifying these players. Like I said, especially goalkeepers, because it is just such a. It's such a different position, and we have been blessed with great goalkeepers as well. I think that is some of the problem. But we have had some fantastic ones. Yeah, Kean's just said there, all dropping Beadle will do is just knock our chance with loans of future young players. Yeah, we don't know what's kind of being put in the contract as well in regards to that, whether he has to play or not, or whether indeed they can say that. But there's a reason why he's played every single game so far this season. Let's move on then. I think despite that absolute howler, I do think I've come away. It's a weird feeling coming away from the game, because I'm fuming that we've not won it, and I'm fuming at the way that it's ended. But then after, when I've calmed down a touch, I'm like, well, actually, it's probably one of the best performances that we've had.
Agreed.
It wasn't a slow first 45 minutes. I bet there were some people thinking I might as well turn up at half time because I'm not going to miss anything in the first 45, because nothing normally ever happens. But we looked good. We went a goal down, but I didn't. There was at no point did I feel like we were out of the game. There's been times, especially last season, we'd concede a goal and you think, well, we're not going to win now. Like that's it. We've lost the game. I feel like we're different now, and we were just applying the pressure with good football. You mentioned at the top, when you've got Beadle and Charles and Armstrong, really pulling the strings. We were getting crosses into the box. We were creating chances as well. All the ball really were played in their half, and you have to say that the goal was probably against run of play, which makes it even more frustrating. The fact that we've had chance after chance, but I thought it were great. I thought defensively, we got a shape really well. I thought we were making it difficult for Coventry to break us down. They were trying to pass in between the lines, and Max Lowe were mopping up quite a few times, and it just wasn't quite working for Coventry. And I thought we had him where we needed him, even though we were a goal down after 16 minutes, I think it was. So yeah. I think on the whole, I think the performance was great.
No, I'm up there in terms of the performances. It's one of the most complete performances we've put in this season from an attacking sense, 100%. And I think up until the ball was played past or through or around our midfield, because the nature of a side like Coventry is they are going to open you up at some time because they are good enough to. It was only when it went into that defensive unit that I thought we didn't really manage to get a grip, in particular of Ellis Sims all day. The back three looked like two players playing out of position and a fifth choice centre-back when the ball went into Ellis Sims. Aside from that, I thought both ways were absolutely fantastic. Again, but as you've already said, James, it's both boxes where you make your coin and ultimately where you end up, where you finish. It sounds like, we've been incredibly harsh on a number of players here this evening, in particular the defensive unit. The reason why I would suggest I'm being like that is because if you are talking top six, which we are doing a lot of this time, Coventry fans are in the chat basically saying, I think you've got a good chance, like an outside chance. I mean, on the strength of it yesterday, in terms of the two squads, I'd back Coventry over ourselves personally, but that's just kind of myself and my own position of it. You are talking these fine details, and you need to be harsh on people, including the goalkeeper, in that it's that attention to detail in those key final moments that cost us last Saturday. It nearly cost us in midweek. Depends on what camera angle you look at as to whether the player was offside or not. And it cost us again yesterday, which is mad to think that is probably one of the top 3 performances that we'll see from this side all season. And we've come away losing the game.
Yeah, you mentioned that we've criticised quite a lot of players so far on this pod. What about criticising the referee in all this? Because
yeah,
you know what, we generally, I try and not criticise referees as much as I possibly can. There's been a lot of opportunities where we could have, and I know we sometimes talk about him. And and obviously the reason why we're talking about him today is because we had no fewer than 3 fairly decent penalty shouts. And I'm not talking about the handball, then handball, kind of ripples around the ground, which I always find quite funny. But there was 3 big appeals, and I kind of just want your thoughts on them. We'll go through them, one by one, I guess. Ingleson, first of all, he's through on goal. In my eyes, it's probably fallen to totally the wrong player. And I think if anything, the player that you want it to fall to is sat on the bench in Josh Windass. I think if he runs through, it's probably a different story. But he runs through, he don't quite kind of get hold of the ball. I know that you've mentioned the defenders tugging at him, and then he falls over, and at that point you think he's through, he is through. But yeah, I don't think that's ever going to be given as a penalty unless he goes down.
No, I mean, also, first and foremost, he's never got the ball under control. Ever.
Yeah.
Not at one stage when Bannon clips that ball over the defensive line, because he puts...
What a ball, by the way.
I think it's Bobby Thomas who is defending him. I mean, he is all over the shot. He looked like he's on rollerblades trying to turn back around and get back to him. It's a great run from Svante Ingleson, but then he never gets the ball under control, and it's kind of stuck under his feet and bobbling around all over the shop. I thought his opportunity to go down was when he initially broke the line to get Thomas booked. That was when I thought, go down. Like, you've got to go down here. The minute he decides to stay on his feet, there isn't one Coventry player who makes enough contact with him.
Yeah, and I think as well, I think he's trying to get into the box. I think he's trying to get into the box, and then hopefully that he gets touched again. But because I think the other contact is just outside, which would be fucking annoying if that would have. I guess he probably would have been sent off the Coventry player had he would have given a free kick at that point. But
that's where I thought his opportunity was to go down initially and just outside the box. Which at worst you are having a centre half on a yellow card for the next 85 minutes of a game. Which was 85 minutes because the ref didn't add any additional time on. But yeah, it would have that is your opportunity to go down. The minute that he goes into the area, what a mess he makes of it. Like, he falls over, like tries. We saw in the 91st minute a competent striker face away from goal, try and turn and get a shot off and manage to find the back of the net. But again, go back to that point. How many Coventry players are back on the line, blocking shots and all the rest of it? Because then the follow-up from Ike Ugbo, which I'm assuming some people put down as a chance of he's got to score, there's a defender half a yard from him. Jeddy Gassama probably has the best opportunity of that move, and again, it's a great block. Defender's got his arms behind him, gets a body in the way, really, really good. For me, that first one, never in a million years is that a penalty. I think the opportunity to go down is earlier, and Ingleson should have done so.
Well, from where I'm sat on the north, kind of near the Cop, when he falls down in the box, it looks to me as if the keeper's actually kind of gone down to his feet, missed the ball and brought him down. When you watch it again, he's about 6 foot away from him.
Stonewaller from where you're sat in it, James. Stonewaller.
it were definitely. Do you know what? I've seen a clip. I think it's the it's from the Luton fans of Sheffield United's goal, and it's banging line.
Yeah.
And you hear them all go, "He's offside, ref!" And you watch it back, and he's about six yards on.
He's a million miles on side.
But it makes you wonder sometimes. You know, when you are in the stand and you go, "It went off, then, ref," and you're like, and when you watch, when you watch it back, is he actually offside or not? But anyway, the first one, I do agree. If it goes down, maybe he's going to get something. But whilst he stays on his feet, he's not. The second one, Sissoko, twinkle toes, as I'm going to call it. Lazy twinkle toes, I think is might what you call him. But he that one for me is probably the biggest one of the lot. He's just, you can see the lad. He legs him up. He puts his hand up in his air. That's for me straight away. When you put your hands up in the air like that, you know you've done something wrong. And he looks a bit sheepish. And obviously the referee just totally waves it away. It kind of puts a challenge in. It's a lazy challenge, and he just goes down. I don't know how else to talk about it. Really, I just think. I mean, when I saw it again, I'm back. This time I was in the perfect position to see this one. That is straight in front of me, and I would just aghast at how he'd not pointed to the penalty spot.
I personally think arguably Ibrahim Sissoko should have had 2 penalties this week, and we'd be talking about what a signing. Because when he gets the ball under control, obvious yesterday, and when the ball's played to his feet and he doesn't have to run, when the ball's played to his feet at Swansea, absolutely dancing feet, does the lad all up, penalty for me anyway. Yesterday, again, dancing feet, does it in a very different style to Jedi Gassama. Jedi Gassama's like 100 mile an hour. Yeah. Sissoko's very languid and very, again, as you looked at, when you visually watch him, looks lazy, but I think he just lures. What I've noticed with both of those moves is he tends to like lure a defender in, and then the change of direction is really quick. And you're just kind of like, where the fuck has he gone? Like, if you were defending him, you'd be thinking, where's he gone? If the Jedi Gassama one against Luton was a penalty, that yesterday is a penalty. That Jedi Gassama one against Luton is almost identical challenge in terms of, had he moved his leg back to swing it and kicked it, he'd have got it. It's for me, the next one as well. I've argued all day in our Discord chat that I personally feel that the Shea Charles one is a penalty also. I think one of the next two are, you take one of them is definitely a penalty.
Yeah, before we talk about the Shea Charles one, Danny, if you're listening, please can we just play Sissoko and Gassama on the same at the same time? Just one game, just pick any of them. It don't really matter which one. A full 90 minutes, or even at least 60. Let's get 60 minutes of both of them just absolutely terrorising, both fullbacks, because at the moment we've only seen one of them, haven't we? It's been Gassama starting, Sissoko comes on for Gassama. But I think it would be mouth-watering to see
Josh Windass in that central striker role. For those two, I think is almost like the perfect fulcrum, because the movement from that front three and the ability to pop up anywhere is just, I think terrifying. Like,
I mean, I would say the defending terrifying. Would be
non-existent. There's no press.
Yeah, exactly.
Not an ounce of a press.
It might not be balanced either, but fuck it.
Vibes.
Just have a go. Now the Charles one, when I initially saw it, I thought he's looking for that big time. He's moved into him. You see when I watched it back, the defender kind of pulls away from it. There is contact. I think what does him though is the way that he goes down. His right leg just gives way and he just falls down. And he doesn't kind of. Yeah, it looks very unnatural the way that he goes down. I just don't think that helps him one bit. It falls firmly in the I've seen them given category. But with that referee, I don't think he was ever going to give that one.
No, I think just on the referee, he was absolutely determined not to give any call that would have impacted the game yesterday in a positive or negative way. Like, it was every easy decision, like the Ellis Sims disallowed goal. Every easy decision he gave, anything that was like a big call, you're going to have to do some heavy lifting here. No, not interested. Not really not interested at all. And he let an awful lot go, which I do think actually added to the excitement of the game. Like he wasn't blown up for every lazy foul. He was doing a lot of things in terms of like, again, we've mentioned kind of Bobby Thomas and Neil and Liam Kitchen, like blocking runners and all the rest of it. He didn't call for any of those. And what it led to was actually quite a spicy game of football, which is good. The reason why I think the Shea Charles one is because I think I look on the other side of it and think I think the defender's been very clever here. Defender shifts his body out of the way, like tries to get his body out of the way, but leaves his foot just there long enough to be able to make contact. I agree with you. I think Shea Charles goes down like a sack of shit. It looks appalling. However, the contact that is actually made on him is really similar to, do you remember the Dishon Bernard's second yellow against Stoke, where he kind of like they basically just make contact with one another's feet and he goes down. I thought the contact was really, really similar to that. I can understand for that second one why the referee hasn't given it, but I'm watching it in real time again. I can understand why it's not been given, the same as the goal that was given. For me, it's a foul. Like if that happens, if Shea Charles skips past him 5 yards outside the box and does that, he gives a free kick, like all day, every day. The fact that that contact happens inside the box, the fact that it is still a foul, like, yes, the defender moves out the way. Yes, he's got his hands up, same way that the defender had their hands up for the Ibrahim Sissoko one. It's still a penalty. And I think it was also the fact that both of those happened in the space of about 30 seconds of one another.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Really didn't help. And really didn't then help to kind of like anger the home crowd yesterday, because I just thought, well, you've not given the first one, and normally you see a referee go, shit, I need to make up for that, and gives another one. There were two there that I feel you could have given. Of course, it's Sheffield Wednesday, so we don't get either.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on then. I think we've talked about kind of their second goal to death, to be fair.
Yeah.
I were going to talk about the goal, but just in the interest of time, let's just move it on a little bit. Let's just read the 3-word match reviews out first. A reminder, at WTID Pod, if you want to get involved. 128 replies this week, which is quite a few. Peter's put bent as fuck, and then just a picture of the referee from the weekend. Chef Cam's gone with drop to bollock. Ben, I hate football. Yeah, I had a similar feeling after full-time whistle. Lucy's gone with same old Wednesday. Richard, undeserved loss. Olivia says points dropped again. Otterly Bermuse has gone with catch the ball. Jones has said 22 goal attempts. Ross Stevens missing that killer edge. Adam, home form concerning. Yes, that's 4 games now without a win. It's mad, isn't it? 6 games unbeaten up until yesterday. Now it's 4 games without a win. It's amazing how one result can really change that. John's just played really well. Yeah, agree. Craig, another one dropped, quite literally. Luke Samuels says, I knew it. Luke was on the debate show in midweek, and he did say that it's going to be 2-1 to Coventry, and they're going to repay the favour from when we played them at the CBS. Glyn don't mince his words. Referee's a wanker. Tell us what you really think next time, Glenn. Harley's tough to take, and then one more. Let's go with Lee. Lee says should have won. Yeah, definitely. And Jake Brown says bread cake hands.
There we go.
I must admit, I saw the meme.
That was outstanding.
With the match-worn Beadle gloves that had the hole in the middle.
Big hole cut out in the middle. That was, to be fair, from our Steel City rivals, occasionally you have to throw your hands up when there's something that's fucking funny. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I've just highlighted this one, which is from Ryan, who's a Coventry fan, which says, if you give soft pens like those, you'd be giving pens every 5 minutes, which I take as a point. But my argument is, if you were a Coventry fan, or if that was at their end, they would have been screaming blue murder about it. Absolute blue murder. So yeah, let's move on from a thoroughly depressing thing to the bigger picture, because that's so much rosier around Sheffield Wednesday at the minute.
It is, isn't it? And do you know what? I can't help but look at that bigger picture when it comes to it. We can talk about all the individual games and stuff like that. We perhaps should have won this one. Luton, Bristol City, Millwall. You can add all those in there, but the fact is that we didn't, and it's becoming it's becoming a theme now.
Yeah.
That we're playing well, but we're not winning the games. I know we are where we are in the league. I know we're only 3 points off the playoffs, whatever it is now. You know, we're still in with a chance, and this, that, and the other, rah, rah, rah. But the feeling I'm getting is that had the manager been backed, had Danny Röhl been given funds to go out there and sign some quality players. I'm not saying that Stuart Armstrong is not quality. He's great, but it kind of goes against everything what we've been trying to do in terms of bringing young players in. He's the wrong side of 30. We're going to get a couple of seasons out of him, and great, fantastic footballer. But we're not signing the players that we needed to sign, you know. And you can't say that they're not available either. You've only got to look at the other signings that have been made in the Championship, especially in January, from teams that are, you know, also trying to go for the playoffs this season. They're strengthening. I know it's not always working. Middlesbrough are on a bit of a poor form at the moment. They've signed Morgan Whittaker from Plymouth. We look at West Brom signing Adam Armstrong as well. You know, not quite working just yet. But we've done none of that. We've done nothing. I mean, the only thing that you know, a little bit of positivity is, you know, the players that we are looking at and that we have been linked with do seem to be half decent. I mean, that Mika Bireth, I think he was on loan at Motherwell from, I want to say, I don't know, Arsenal, weren't it? Then he went to Sturm Graz on loan, did well there, and he's now at Monaco, and he's scored a hat trick, I think, at the weekend. So we're linked with these good players, but it just comes down to not being given the coin, not being given the money to actually go out and get the players that we actually want to make us any better. And that's why we're just going to fall short ultimately this season, I feel.
I'm with you, James. Like, again, we've mentioned it before. Like, we have been heavily critical of a number of them this evening in terms of the players, and we've also, on the flip side of that, said this is one of the I personally would put it in one of our top 3 performances this season, in particular at home. Like, nothing. I'm sure me and you sat on here after the Plymouth game and went, you're probably not going to see a better performance than that all season. And actually, how fucking true is that at home in particular? I think the players are playing so far above their actual squad value and level that when it becomes mathematically impossible to reach the playoffs, we can all start to look to next year and giving players kind of like minutes, and we can start to do all of that. But for now, you just kind of have to live with the results that we're getting. I think when you start coming to that wider picture about our sort of esteemed leader at the top of the club, if he has money, which is the claim that was made definitely at the fans forum, he doesn't have it at the right times. Like, he never has the money at the right times. It's like that person who, when you go out for like a round, or like when you go out for drinks with your mates and you go, oh, who's rounding it? And that person is mysteriously missing every time. He's like that. Or the trade-off to this is maybe as fans, we do deserve an explanation of what the long, medium, and short-term plan is. Aside
100%.
From get to the promised land. Because if you're going to come out and say in the next 2 windows, we aim to build a squad that is capable of challenging deeper into the season, again, like we did this year, but 2 seasons from now, when everybody knows that division will be weaker, why? Because the promoted sides from this year, there's a high likelihood they will be coming back down, and this division is piss poor this year. We're going to have a good go at it. We're going to try and hold on to our players, but if a ridiculous offer or an offer that we feel meets the valuation of those players comes in, we're going to have to sell them. I'm thinking Jeddy Gassama in particular, because it can't last for much longer. Not the form that he's showing at the minute, not the way that he's playing. Somebody at the top end, it's tailor-made, isn't it? Shea Charles goes back to Southampton, Danny Röhl tips up there, and then the first signing is Southampton are delighted to announce Jeddy Gassama, and he stood there with his Saints shirt. If you come out and said, but in 2 seasons, we are going to have a real go at it, and actually there is a budget to play with because we've sold a couple of players, and actually we haven't hit that profit and sustainability for a number of years, and we've built a large portion of the squads over the last 2 windows on loans, on free signings in particular, or out of contract players, no matter where you want to put it again, The difference being is currently what we're doing now. If you don't tell fans, you will continue to get the unrest, discontent, and division that there currently is amongst Sheffield Wednesday fans with a side who is 9th in the division after being 7 points adrift of safety at the bottom of the league this time last year. I actually had a fan of another club message me today and say, fucking hell, I hadn't looked at... He's not like an avid football fan, but he messaged me and said, oh my God, I didn't realise you guys were doing as well as you were. And I was like, it definitely doesn't feel like that. Talking like it doesn't feel like that being a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Like we've had Coventry fans in the chat this evening going, think you've still got a good crack at the playoffs. I'm sat there thinking, what on earth are you talking about? What on earth are you on about?
Because we see it week in, week out, Matt. We see it. We see us playing like this most weeks, but just not coming away with the points. Like, you've got. I was listening to Praise Grumble after the game. You got a United fan coming on saying like really unhappy that they've won 1-0 away at Luton in the top at league. I was like, what am I hearing here? Do you know what I mean? Like, saying that it needs to be entertained. Like we're the opposite. We're being entertained. It's more than entertaining the football that we're seeing. And,
oh my God, is it? Yeah.
And stuff that's happening. It's just not, not resulted in as many points as what we feel. And do you know when I hear people say, we'd have took this at the start of the season, 100%. We came on here and said 10th, and I said that would be a fantastic result. And that's based on where we finished last season. And you kind of, when you're going through the season, as much as you say, we could finish, we were the 6th best form side at the end of the season. You don't really fully believe that because, you have the teams that you've played, you're not playing, over the course of the season, and you still have PTSD from what happened at the start of the season as well. But now, and when we've said it time and time again, this league is poor, and we've been given a massive opportunity, and halfway through the season, you get another opportunity to bring players in to make your team, make your squad stronger and stuff like that. And we just haven't done it. And he said that he's got money, like you said. I don't agree.
No.
If you had money, you would have spent some money in January bringing some players. And also, if you had money, you wouldn't spend 3 of the 4 weeks in January not speaking to each other, as we're led to believe, as he said himself. Like, you just don't do that. I just really don't get it. Kian's put here, he says, way I see it, if we wasn't going to get players in positions where we needed them, then why did we spend money on bringing Charles back when we could have saved that for the budget in the window or even next? 100%. We've said that. We've already said that before a couple of weeks ago. Like, I just don't really. We've half-arsed it again. Once again, we've just we've done a little bit. He's done enough. He's done enough to get people off his back, because there's people now that are going to use that as a look. He is back. He is backing the manager. He is giving. He's doing giving us funds. Look what he's done with Charles. If he's not bothered, he wouldn't have done that. And all this, that, and the other. And it's happened because it's gone silent. And you know what? And I don't want. I don't want the whole. Yeah, I don't want the whole. I don't want it to be protests against the chairman. I want it to be a harmonious relationship with the club and the chairman and the fans and the manager and players and all things like that, and us be doing fantastic. And if that's with Chansiri, that's great. I don't really care who the chairman is, but I feel like what he's saying and what he's doing and what he's telling us, they're not really adding up and matching up.
Please allow me to go full conspiracy tinfoil hat. It was you with conspiracies last week. It's going to be me now.
Matt Letizia. You don't even have to change your name.
Yeah. I'm just going to be. There's going to be a meme of me just sat there with glasses, going, "Made you think." I also think, and this is real tinfoil hat stuff here, James. I think it's really interesting that around the start of the January window, all of a sudden, Danny Röhl and the chairman fall out. Like, they just fall out. Because if you're looking at it from a perspective of you've got no money, what's the thing that you'd want to do here? I'm going to kick off with the manager because it's going to waste 2 weeks of this window where I'm skint. Like, if you have got absolutely no money and you can't give this manager what he wants and he's going to come in and be absolutely livid, what do? You pick a fight. Pick a fight with him. and the reason why I'm saying this, and I know, like saying this on a public platform is fucking mental, like absolutely mental. But this is the level of distrust that Sheffield Wednesday fans have of that chairman, is because would it seem when all of the dust has settled, and I know you've mentioned it before, and Chanziri just needs to write a tell-all expose of his time at Sheffield Wednesday at some point. It would be really interesting going into that window. We all know the underlying reason of why we make season ticket sales and all these fucking ridiculous windows that we've got. What are we on now? Going into phase 3 of the window, and that's gone up by £100 from when it was over Christmas.
Yeah.
We release them when we do is so that we have a transfer budget over January. Like, I think everybody's fairly comfortable with that now, or we have some sort of money and funds available to be able to fund at least somebody's wages for a couple of weeks until money gets moved around from somewhere to somewhere. My concern with it is if you know that there has been an approach from for your manager and you've just steadfast and you know that the manager's a bit pissed off about that, well, what's the thing that you do? You pick a fight with him and go, well, you're disloyal. You don't want to be here, so why would I give you a budget? And then they don't end up talking for 2.5 weeks, and you don't go out and you don't fill in all those gaps. And then by the end of the window, we're all fucking sat here ecstatic because we've gone and signed Stuart Armstrong, who, this is nothing against him, because I thought actually yesterday he was exceptional. A couple of nice, really little touches, links up on play. I wish he got a shot off a little bit more yesterday. But actually, the football that I've seen from him in the past 2 games when he came on at Swansea, I thought he provided, real midfield security and all the rest of it. And then again yesterday while he was on the pitch, he was really good. But we didn't need him. We didn't need him. We didn't need that particular position. Yes, in the summer, I agree. You've got to start moving on from Bannon and you need some more midfield depth. But we didn't need that. We've then gone, who else did we sign around the end? Rio Hatsuse was the other one, wasn't it? Who, again, may end up being a fantastic player. We probably won't know until maybe, a month from now when he's in and around the first team. Because realistically, again, based on yesterday's performance, I'm really sorry. I can't defend him anymore. Marvin Johnson has got to come out. It has to come out. I don't think he was particularly poor yesterday, but again, in those key areas, he makes too many of the wrong decisions. I know he had the drilled shot for an own goal winner, but again, defensively not good enough. We've also signed Ibrahim Sissoko, who, no matter what way you want to shape it up, he's a lad who was desperate to get out of Plymouth, was recalled back, and we've taken him on loan again. You then are sitting there going, okay, cool, you've done all of that. Where is the money? Because what is it? 5 million quid. Let's be optimistic in all of those signings that have come in over the past couple of windows. 5 million quid to build a promotion challenging squad is absolutely nonsensical at this level. Absolutely nonsensical. And it does go back to that bigger picture, especially in light of and shining a focus on what is our most difficult month. Between now and when we play them down the road in the derby, we have got Burnley, who are 3rd. We've got Sunderland, who are 4th or 5th. We've then got Plymouth, who are on an absolute tear. I know they're still down the bottom, but they are playing much better than they were, and it wouldn't surprise me if they end up getting out of it. We then go away to Norwich. Yeah. We then have Sheffield United. And we are going into those games with a patched up 35-year-old captain who is still our talisman, still our best, consistently one of our best players, but he's patched up and he's got, again, we're talking rumours because nobody will know, he's potentially got a hairline fracture within his knee. Who knows? It might be his foot. It might be his barnet. Who knows? Because we're not told. We're then also going into it with our 5th choice centre-halves and 2 wing-backs, and we're playing a back 3. And we've got a kid on the bench in Gabe Otegbayo, who I saw a lot of people, I would include myself in this, I would much rather have seen him come on at 85 minutes yesterday, because Michael Ehekwe, nicest will in the world, was absolutely bollocks yesterday. He looked like a mid-30-year-old who'd played 3 top-level championship games in a week. He was absolutely blowing.
He had a tough game against Ellis Sims. To be fair, they were at each other. Now, I'm sure he enjoyed that. I think that's what he does enjoy, getting up close and personal with someone. And there were a lot of times where where they were both wrestling each other as the ball coming down. And I think, but both of them won the fair share as well. Ellis Sims got the better of him a few times, and think Ehekwe got his fair share as well. But yeah, I just look at it and I just think that it's just it's just a massive mistake, and in terms of not putting the funds where they needed to be, and as people have said, not signing players where we needed to sign them as well. I asked for questions as well, as we always do. I've got one from Rob. He says, whether we get to the playoffs or not, this summer's transfer window is more important than ever. We're going to need 2 centre-backs minimum, a replacement for Shea, the next Bannon, and at least 1 striker. And to top that off, try to keep Danny. What do you think? Like,
yeah. Just fucking
but that's the truth, isn't it? That's what
I know.
But it's all right though, because Danny will ask for 6 players and he'll get 12, so it's absolutely fine. We're not a problem whatsoever. You know, we're absolute shoestring budget, and as Rob rightly mentions there, that's they're all the players that we have to bring back in. Deshaun Bernard he's out for 6 months. So he's not going to start the next season. Or he's going to be touch and go. Obviously, again, we don't know what's. I'm guessing it's some sort of ligament damage that is. That he's done to his knee.
It looked. I mean, always one of those. It's not like a impact contact, like broken ankle or something. He didn't look like he's turned. It could quite comfortably be an ACL or an MCL or something like that. Who knows? Yeah. His hair still looked fantastic, by the way, still sat in that hospital bed. I think his barber's come in and give him a trim.
He did, definitely. Iorfa, just add that to the long list of injuries that he's got. Like, he'll
be back in March. Every year, regular as clockwork, has Christmas off.
But he's riddled with injuries. So you've got to look at that and say, can we trust Dom Iorfa, moving forward? Yeah, and then Akin Firmino as well, which he's had a fantastic start to the season, but can he continue that form when he comes back? I hope to God that he does, but who knows? Like he hasn't really, I didn't really expect that from him. I hope he does, but you don't. It's funny what injuries do. So you're right. We need 2 centre backs now, but then we could also. It's going to be a massive overhaul in the summer once again. And
agreed, James. And just for balance here, I just thought I'd just pull this up while you were talking about this, because I thought I wonder how much Coventry spent last year. Aside who we were going against, who didn't need this massive rebuild. Coventry have spent 17.25 million in the 2 windows this summer and January, and they've bought. And if you speak to Coventry fans, which mean like I did a preview show for the Coventry fans, they'll tell you they've signed no one. Like they're like, wow, it's been a really, really quiet January, and some of the players we bought in the summer are all right, but this and all the rest of it. You've got Jack Radoni, centre midfielder from Huddersfield, cost 6 million quid. Can you imagine if we'd have gone out and done that in the summer? Like, really, seriously, can you imagine if we'd have gone out and signed him in the summer? Everyone would have been going, 6 million quid for a League One player who's just got relegated. This is absolutely scandalous. Like, you've then got...
We were questioning spending 2.5 million for a player that we had last season, that we knew what it was like.
And you've also got the lad who scored the penalty against us. Didn't come on yesterday, but Norman Bassett, who is a kid. He is 19 years old. He's more than Ike Ugbo. And this is, with the greatest respect in the world, this is Coventry City, who have been outside of the Premier League for near as much as we are. They're not dealing with parachute payments. They're not dealing with any of those issues. They're not dealing with profit and sustainability. They're not dealing with any of that. They have gone out and spent 17 point whatever it was million, and they've also had to pay off a manager in that as well.
And let's not forget, they've had their issues as well. Do you know what I mean? They're, it's not like it's all rosy and they've been fantastic for many, many years. They've had their ownership problems too as well.
Yeah. And Kevin here has put in the chat, just from a player who, we've mentioned a lot of players here, but we were beaten at the start of the window to Ronnie Edwards at QPR, who I know a couple of people came on the debate show after the QPR incident and said, well, he's not good enough because we beat them 2-0. Ronnie Edwards is a good centre-half in this division. Mason Ephron-Clark, who came off the bench yesterday for Coventry, was signed in the last January window and then went back on loan to Peterborough, I think for around 5 million quid. This is what well-run clubs with owners who've got money do. But we don't, consistently. And you kind of sit there. And again, Gary's just put in that chat there is, don't forget that they've sold Gyökeres. But I'm going to add Wado, who is, just for context, he's a Coventry fan. their chairman is very astute. And that's the difference between why we played a side yesterday who is in much better shapes on and off the pitch. The magic card that we hold at the minute is our manager. How long that will last is as good as anybody else's guess.
Yeah, I mean, to that, they've sold Gyökeres. Yeah, of course they have, but we've had opportunities to sell our players as well. We don't have to go 10 years without only selling one player in Lucas João. We have opportunities to do that. We've opportunities to develop young players to actually bring them through and sell them on for a profit. But we hadn't done it, so you can't just say they didn't just look on one player like that. We've got opportunities now with Jeddy Gassama. Let's see, let's see what happens with him. Let's see whether we actually learn from his mistakes and start to actually do some player trading. It'll be really sad to see him go when that time comes, but let's sell him for the most that we possibly can. Yeah, look at Fizaya Del Bashir, who linked with moves back to Manchester City, and apparently Arsenal are keeping tabs on him as well, which is mental to think that we let that player go for free. But I'm not going to go into all that because I thought he was shit when he when he played for us.
He didn't do enough with his opportunities, did he?
Exactly. I just want to, before we quickly talk about Burnley, I've got a message from John as well. Again, we're asking for questions. He said, where do you see us this time next year? I know the season's not done yet, but I feel like we are not far off a playoff team with a few additions. For me, it depends on Danny sticking around. You have a go first on that one.
Difficult question, James, especially when you've not given me a chance to prep for it.
I'll give you one then. Battling relegation.
Yeah,
100%. It does depend on Danny sticking around. If you ask me right now, I don't think he's going to be next season. The fact that we're not even willing to give Danny Röhl a serious transfer budget, why the hell are we going to give anyone else that comes through the door any sort of serious money to play with? We're going to be shopping in Middle Isle at Lidl once again to try and find some absolute gems. We might find some. We might find some great players. We've got Jeddy Gassama came in. Not this summer, last summer. He's gone great guns. We Deshaun Bernard, fantastic player that we've signed. There are players on frees that you can sign. However, you're not going to build a championship, like a promotion challenging championship squad on frees and loans. It's just not possible. Not when you're competing against some of the other clubs in this league that are going to be spending some money. You have to spend money in this league, and we're just not doing it. So we're going to have a new manager. We're going to have to replace Shea Charles, who is arguably the best player that we've had for a long time, because we're not going to have him next season. He'll be playing against us for Southampton. And yeah, I just can't see it. We might get lucky again. I know Chansiri has got lucky a few times, if you want to use that. In terms of we've had some miracles. Had these miracles not happen, you never know where we might be. But yeah, we're going to be looking down rather than up next season. I can't see us suddenly putting the missing pieces to the jigsaw in the summer.
I agree. I think the other thing I've just highlighted here, James, in the chat for those who are listening, was this comment from Waddo again, which has said Ipswich did it. To be fair, Ipswich still spent more than us last year when they got promoted. I think they spent £6 million last year, which is £2 million more than we spent this window and this season overall. Yeah, there's a depressing and sobering listen for everybody for the last 2 minutes because yeah, I agree with you, James. Do I think the manager will be here next year? No, I think Southampton are going to circle back around and have another go. I think it was very telling that their new manager only signed an 18-month deal, because I think it's basically come in, firefight for 6 months, receive a nice payoff after 12. You're then losing, again, statistically, I'm just talking statistically here, the third best midfielder in the division in Shea Charles, which he is by loads of different measures. And you've got to go and replace him, which is it doable? Yeah, of course it is. Of course it's doable, but you have to spend money to replace those players. Who knows what is actually going to happen with Bannon? He's going to be 36 in December. You can't keep running him into the ground. Deshaun Bernard is coming back from a surgery. and an injury which.
And he'll have no pre-season, by the way. He won't be fully fit. Do you know what I mean?
No.
From the start of the season.
You are also starting in goal with a 19, 20-year-old goalkeeper who, unbelievable distribution, should actually just be playing centre midfield instead of his brother. But again, he's untried and untested at this level. Now, I think he's going to be great next year. I think he's going to be a fantastic goalkeeper, but it's dependent on those, same as it is for James Beadle yesterday. It's dependent on those in front of him. It's a huge, huge build to do it on loans and frees again. I personally don't think you can be looking at anything other than, and I'm being cautiously optimistic here, James. I would say if you can match the performance of this season, then you have had an unbelievable season next year. Absolutely unbelievable. Where do I realistically think we'll finish next year? I think we'll finish 14th, 15th next year. And it will be, rather than we're now currently three points off playoffs, four with goal difference, because how the fuck we're still there with a negative goal difference, I'll never know. But I think rather than looking up and going, oh, you're only 3 points away from it, it's so frustrating, I think we're going, we're only 3 points above this here. And you're going to be looking at that circling of the drain. And I'm really hope both me and you are proved wrong. Like, I really, really hope I am. And I hope that the chairman goes, do you know what? In the summer, to the manager, I agree with you. I've made some mistakes. I've made errors. I haven't given you a budget. Here's a budget of 15 million. And on top of that, I am going to sell Jedi Gassama this window, which I know you're not going to be happy with. But looking at his contract and how long he's got left, what is it, 2 years?
Something like that,
a year, 2 years. Something. I think he's 2 years. One of those is an option year that the club has, I think, rather than the player. I'm going to make my money here, and we're going to take 8 to 10 million for him that we can get in the summer for him. And
Matt, there's a huge problem with that theory, though. Is that I've been saying that every single year.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and you know what? He's done nothing to actually prove me wrong. We've been saying, he might change, he might do this, he might do that. I hope he does this. But he doesn't every single year. It's the same thing every single time. So whilst I agree with you, I do hope that he does prove us wrong. I'm just saying as it is. That I agree. People can agree with me. They can disagree with me. They can say that I've been negative. I've been asked for my opinion, and that's what we do on here. I just share an honest opinion, and that's where I see us going. I do hope we're wrong. I do hope that Danny stays, because he's built a great thing here at the moment. But there's not a great deal of things happening that's telling me that it's going to continue.
There's only so long you can do this with the manager as ambitious as he is with before he gets itchy feet and somebody pulls the trigger on him. Like there's only so long that you can do.
Paul said as well, if Danny goes, Windass will not be as well.
I'm assuming do as well there, Paul. I'm assuming it's do. I agree. Yeah. I think again, but I would probably couple 15 of this squad. They will revert back to a more common standard of kind of what we'd have expected from these players, and that's no slight on them, because they are performing exceptionally well this year. But it will be more a regression towards the mean as your creative player gets closer to 40 than 30.
Do you know what? It dawned on me yesterday. He could be playing for other 35s.
Do you know what? It dawned on me, James. I'm a month older than him. I was like, fucking hell. And I am unfit.
I'm a couple of months older than him as well. But yeah, mad. Let's move on to Friday's game then.
More positivity.
Yes, let's just play a team that's third in the league, unbeaten since the 3rd of November. Yeah, November last year. That was a 1-0 win. 1-0 win for Millwall. 20 games unbeaten, that is. Now, they haven't conceded a goal since Christmas. Which is absolutely
Ugbo,
mental.
Your time is now. EK Ugbo, your time is at fuck the derby off in March. Come on, scoring a 4-1 loss.
11 consecutive clean sheets is what Burnley have had. I mean, my God, boring. Like, it must be so boring to watch. I mean, that the Sheffield United fans would be absolutely livid having to watch that every week. And they're not even in the top 2 yet. A lot of draws, a lot of 0-0 draws as well. Got 9 goals conceded all season, which is absolutely mental when you look at it. Clearly more than one way to skin a cat and get yourself up near the top, and they're doing it that way. Scott Parker, of course, is their gaffer. It will be the Wednesday way. That we'll be that team that goes and beats them 2 or 3-0 or something like that.
I really, really hope so, James, because, as you say, it would be the most Sheffield Wednesday thing to go there, have none of the ball and see none of the ball for 89 minutes, and then it comes off Michael Smith and trickles into the back of the net, and then Burnley have to come out and attack, and they think, oh, fuck, we can't do this. I confess I saw, I think, a little bit of the game against Preston in the pub beforehand at the weekend. It looked like 2 really evenly matched sides. Now, I know there's the added spice of that being a Lancashire derby, but it looked like 2 really evenly matched sides. I suppose the only difference being that, as we know from playing Preston twice this year, Preston defend a lot better than us and are very good at doing so. But it's away from home, so there is a chance.
The interesting thing, though, I'm just looking at their results so far this season. Obviously, there is a lot of green and blue. Green is a win and blue is a draw. There's not a lot of red L's because they've only lost 2 games in the league. However, I'm just looking when the vast majority of the games they've had more than 50% possession. Series piping up there, but all the games that they've had less than 50% this season, they've won all bar 2. They've won 9, I think it is, with less than 50. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Friday. They're at home, so you'd like to think they're going to have more of the ball, but they don't see. Whilst they do tend to have more possession, interestingly, the ones where they have dominated possession, there's probably 5-6 games there where they've had more than 65%. They've only won 1 of them. Yeah. So us away from home, when we do tend to give the other team the ball, we do tend to look better. I know the sides that are above us, we haven't done great against them, so they haven't conceded many. But I do get a bit of a crumb of comfort from the fact that we're happy to let the other side have the ball. And it clearly looks like when that happens, they don't really do a great deal with it. The only thing I would caveat that with is 3 of those 5 or 6 games were in the first 10 weeks of the season where Burnley were still kind of finding their feet a little bit. They do seem to have, doing a lot better recently. But yeah, I'm going into this game on Friday with absolute 0 expectation.
100%. This is probably, aside from Leeds and Sunderland away, with the benefit of hindsight for Sunderland away, the only games that you kind of think, do you know what? If you don't get anything, it's a free hit, really. And that's ridiculous for a side that are 3 points outside the playoffs. But this is a free hit. They don't concede, and if they score, they win. And that's just the long and the short. If Burnley score, they win games. If they score, that's it. If you can somehow manage to get a point out of this, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable result. Really, really positive. Because the next week, the following Friday at Hillsborough will be a much more open and free-flowing game because both sides want to entertain and both sides want to play football. This screams to me, and I know I've sat here on the past couple of weeks and said he shouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11. This is a chuck Callum Patterson onto that pitch and just let him try and ruffle a few feathers and win some fouls. I don't know whether this is a game where I would like to see Ike Ugbo, because I think if people think that Ike Ugbo has done nothing, good luck against this lot. It's just... I agree with you, James. If you offered me a 0-0 now in this, I'd absolutely bite your hand off. But at this point in time, I know you haven't asked me for a score prediction, but I'm going to give you one. I think it'll be 1-0 Burnley, because I think from what we saw earlier on in the season at Hillsborough with Burnley, they needed 2 chances and scored 2 goals. I just hope that good away form continues with us at Turf Moor on Friday night.
Yeah. Again, the only good thing is that they haven't scored a load of goals. They have scored a fair few. You don't get up there without doing that. But yeah, we're just hoping they're going to have a bit of an off day. But you kind of pair that with defensive frailties, especially like in the box, and kind of what's been happening over this weekend and stuff. Yeah, it's not painting a pretty picture. I'd love to sit on here and say, yeah, we're gonna nick it, but other than the football that we've been playing, which I think again that's a positive, that we're not getting battered every week. Do you know what I mean? We're not going into this game having been thumped 5-0 and you can't see where the next goal's going to come from. We are creating a hell of a lot of chances. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how Danny's going to play this game, because part of me thinks he's going to, he's going to actually, let them have the ball and play them on the counter. But then there's another side of me thinking, is he just going to throw the kitchen sink at them and just think, what? Like, not many teams have done that against Burnley, and they've been hard to break down. Is he just looking and thinking, I've got some players here that can do some damage? Gassama's, Sissoko as well. Maybe this is the chance where he just goes hell for leather and plays both of those, and Windass comes back in, and you never know what might happen. Yeah. The only worry on that is when he has kind of thrown caution to the wind, we have got absolutely battered.
Consistently for 2 years.
Yeah. Ipswich, Southampton
Huddersfield,
as well.
Southampton, Sunderland, Leeds, like earlier this season. I know Leeds was only 2-0, but my God, did they miss some chances that night. Millwall as well. Yeah, there's a few in there.
Yeah, and the Huddersfield one sticks out for me, where he did kind of go for it, when we went a goal down, and it really all came unravelling. However, we are further on in the project. Do you know what I mean? We're in the next season now, and maybe he's learned from his mistakes. So I really don't know. I have no idea how it's going to pan out. I'm and ahhing whether to do a bit of a watch along on Friday night. So if you're listening, do check out the socials. I might be doing something on Friday. We'll see what happens, but that should be good if we do. And I hope, for my sake, I know you said you'll settle for a 0-0. If I'm doing a watch along, I really hope it's an entertaining 0-0. Anyway.
You've not picked the greatest of opponents for a watch along, James. I'll be honest.
No, not really. But
don't score, don't concede.
We'll see.
Coming
what
against
happens.
the side that score and concede.
What something's got to give, at some point, and you know what I mean. Right, let's wrap things up there. Massive thanks everyone for joining, whether you've watched live or you've listened on your podcast player. But yeah, thank you very much for getting involved, as everyone always does. We're going to be talking about James Beadle and Piers Charles on Extra Time, so do check that one out. Patreon.com/WTRD pod. We're going to record it straight after here, so it'll be available for you to listen to either late this evening, or it'll be there for you in the morning. So yeah, go ahead and check that one out. So yeah, thank you very much everyone, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.